Welcome, everybody, to the October GGDA meeting. Yay! You on the live stream, you missed Savage Pizza. I'm sorry about that. It was delicious. You also missed some great games and some incredible networking. And I'm very impressed by how well you all met everybody here. So give yourselves a round of applause for all that great networking. And you in the chat can network in the chat. That's fine with us. All right. First order of business, please do mute your cell phones. Put them on silent, vibrate, whatever mode. Yeah, especially you speakers. There we go. It's good to be back at KSU. We have been doing events at SPSU and now KSU since 2008, and a lot of graduates have both been Siege volunteers and then made it into the industry. I don't just mean game development, I mean VR, I mean software, I mean all sorts of industries. I'm very impressed at the caliber of students who have come out of KSU over the years. I'm looking forward to more excellent ones showing up. You in the stream aren't get to see this part, but how many of you are computer science or game development or software students? Excellent. Good number. Good number. How many of you are art students? Very good. Any audio students? Notice how the programmers are looking at those artists like they were sharks feeding. We need art. We need art. All right. Let's see. I know we got a few professors here. Any design students? Oh, there we go. Excellent. Excellent. And the global head. Folks came in and raised their hands as they walked in the room. That's always good to see. Get registered, get pizza, get seats, get ready. So, as you saw, our GGDA meetings are in 3 parts. The first part was networking. You all did a great job with that. The second part will be transferal of knowledge. We've got some KSU grads talking about their paths, the goods and the bad, through their industries. So we're looking forward to that presentation. And then at the end, you can do more networking and check out more of the games that are out there. But most importantly, we will have a Siege volunteer meeting. Siege is the Southern Interactive Entertainment and Game Expo. This is the 19th anniversary of it. And we've been doing it in multiple parts. We had an indie game festival last month. We'll be doing our panels at the Esports Summit as part of Games Week Georgia on October 29th. Who's heard about the Games Week Georgia and the Esports Summit? Oh, look up Games Week Georgia. You can do it while I'm talking. You can ignore me and look up Games Week Georgia on your phones if you're not familiar with it. There are a lot of good events coming up the last week in October that you should be aware of. Lots of great opportunities. We'll be doing panels on game art. We've got Unity coming into town to talk about the next great features in the Unity game engine. We'll have some of the founders of the most successful studios in Georgia coming out to talk about how they did it. The founder of Hi-Rez, the founder of Tripwire. One of the founders of Hi-Rez, one of the founders of Tripwire, one of the founders of Blue Mammoth, which is now part of Ubisoft, and one of the founders of Futurists VR. So a lot of great presentations going on there. And, of course, over Halloween weekend, we have DreamHack. Who's heard of DreamHack? Yeah, all right. DreamHack is the largest esports and gaming festivals in the world. Gaming lifestyle. There'll be some amazing tournaments as well as more than 70 indie devs in our indie playgrounds. We'll have the Siege Indie Playground as part of that. Great chance to talk to indie devs. Check out their work. You saw some of them out there. And we'll also be putting on a college fair on Halloween. So this will be the first college fair where our volunteers get to come in costumes and lead high school students around to see KSU professors talk, to see SCAD professors talk, to see Gwinnett Tech's professors talk, and others. So that's what the latter part is. If you're interested in getting to DreamHack for free, we have free badges in exchange for you volunteering there. I had the volunteer QR code up there. We'll get it up there again after the presentation, but I won't be shining bright lights into our speakers' eyes yet. We have other ways of making them talk. So, it has been great working with KSU over the years. KSU has attributed the immense growth of this the software and game design program to our college fair. It's brought in so many students, not just for games, but for software and more to the program. This is one of the fastest growing programs in SPSU and now KSU history, which is amazing. And has obviously turned out some incredible graduates. And we've a number of really good graduates we tried to get here, and they're too busy to make it out tonight, unfortunately. So we're very happy for the 3 who were able to join us today. So with that, I'm going to have them come up, take seats up here to start sharing their knowledge. And let's give them all a big round of applause. We'll get them to introduce themselves. Hold that close to the top. Yep.
It's the mic. We all have water and stuff, yeah? I forgot my water. Hold that.
I thought you had one on the chair. Is that yours? Back over here.
That's yours. There were a lot of wonderful graduates, but all they could get was us.
Hi, dudes. Thanks for listening to us tonight. I mean, I know you didn't really have a choice. We just kind of showed up and you showed up. But yeah, thanks. So my name is Brannan. I run a VR training company here in Atlanta called SkillOps. Graduated in 2020 with game design. There were 3 of us. And we decided instead of going into the big games industry, we were going to try and do it ourselves. And so we thought using game tech for serious applications, is how they call it, serious applications, would be kind of a fun way to make money. So I'm here. I run a VR training company. Nice to meet you.
I'm Brandon. I graduated in 2019, and for 3 years just did app development, mobile development, trying to break into the industry, and finally got to work on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 for a year and a half. Was affected by some layoffs, but I'm working on sounds right now and still applying. But I'm trying to use what I've learned in the game industry to help out other people for when they graduate.
Hi, everybody. My name's Jared Sanchez. I am the COO of Cubby Games, a new startup that started in the beginning of this year. We're working on a title called Zoo Dojo. It's kind of Binding the Isaacs meets Kung Fu Panda. It's a roguelike beat 'em up. It's going to be very fun. We're getting that together, getting the studio up and running. But besides that, graduated here in 2014 and worked in a number of studios, including Georgia's own Hi-Res Studios for 9 years. But yeah, that's me.
So we're going to be going at a pretty quick breakneck pace, so try our best to pay attention. We're going to go super fast. Nah, not that really. Let's start with you, Jared. We're going to get an inspiring anecdote about something that you've done since you graduated.
I think the inspiring anecdote was actually at the eve of my graduation, because when I started at KSU, at the time it was called SBSU, the Marietta campus, so here. I interfaced a lot with the GGDA. Andrew Greenberg had me work as the Director of Exhibitor Services for Siege. And from there, I networked and interfaced with a lot of studios, one of them being Hi-Res. And at the eve of my graduation, one of the founding guys took me to dinner, and he was like, "Hey, you did a great job working with us." And because at the time I was a contractor for them, you want to hop on and join and be a part of the grand scheme that is working on Smite. And that was a grand old fun time and kind of the major kickoff of my time in the games industry. And from that point on, and worked on Paladins, and then also worked on Rogue Company, which is like their first endeavor into Unreal Engine 4, because they were a UE3 house for a very long time. So I got to like help work as one of the main producers there that brought that game from just a little tiny baby idea to like a full-fledged game that exploded pretty quickly initially, and then was very proud of that, and that felt great. So that's me.
When I was a sophomore here studying game development, I got hooked on working on a little side project in between classes. I ended up making, over the course of, I think 11 months or so, it took the whole sophomore year, I made a little platform fighter like Smash with a couple little pixel art characters, 2 stages, and everyone only had 2 moves. And I decided that was the little scope of the game. Wrapped up. It's pretty cool. Andrew Greenberg let me present it at Siege 2017. He gave me a booth, and it won Most Fun to Play. And still to this day, I can't stop grinning when I think about that. It's generally one of the coolest moments.
You just reminded me of being down there 10 years ago or so, playtesting. It was really fun. It still probably is. It still exists in cyberspace. So I would say, besides meeting wonderful people and connections, the inspiring anecdote for me would be 3 years out of college being like, just like, I'm never going to make it in games, to seeing my name in the credits for Call of Duty, even though I hadn't played Call of Duty in a while. It was my childhood, some of them, the better ones. But just seeing my name in credits, I'd never thought that would happen. And I had given up hope, so don't do that. So be inspired.
Don't do that. Apply for Activision. All right, so we're going to talk about our time in college a little bit. Brandon, we're going to start with you. Let's talk about what college got right when you studied here.
I will say the game jams were definitely important. I'm no offense to the other colleges, but KSU was and probably still is, I haven't been in a while, the best place to do game jams. There was just such a wide berth of people from all over. Like Puzzles by Joe would come here, and like just not just students, but all kinds of different levels of experience to kind of like really learn how to make a game outside of just your standard classes. I will also say the different projects that the classes had, like, you know, mobile specific game development classes, educational ones, those were kind of helpful to get a taste of other fields.
Jared, what did college get right when you attended here?
I think I want to parrot a little bit of Brennan's answer there. It was the, God forbid, actual act of making games. Oh gosh, we're in this to make games. We're learning how to make games, and how are they teaching us? Make a game, do that, make the game. So yeah, every class that here had us making games. First one being, you know, the 2001 or 1001, which was Intro to Game Design. 2001. Yeah, it was like, here, you're going to make a little board game or a card game. That's your thing. And we're going to talk about concepts of design and things like that. And then from then on, it's, okay, here's at least at my time, it was XNA and GEC and Unreal Engine 3 and the early stages of Unity, and struggling with all of those engines because they were all terrible. But yeah, I think the crux of it was really pushing you guys to make games, because that's what you're going to be doing in the industry. Surprise, surprise. So might as well just get the reps in now. So yeah.
The professors here in the game dev department, pretty much all of them know people in the industry or have ties to get you to the right places. In 2016-ish, I casually asked a professor if there was VR I could work on, and he said, yeah, and handed me a VR headset that the school had. Chances are, if you're curious in doing something, or starting an indie studio, or working with a piece of hardware, or maybe buying an iPhone 15 because you want to work on an AR project, ask. And the professors here at KSU are pretty well tied in. I use that a lot to my advantage when I was here. Let's talk about what college missed while we were here. Things that you learned only after you got out and started working.
So they definitely, part of Brandon's answer actually was, where it casted a pretty wide net. So you were very broad but not very deep. And mainly I would just point out to some courses, at least in my opinion, that again, my opinion is my own, don't take any offense, but things like, you know, learning assembly and the really like nitty gritty machine level stuff. I'm like, the exposures is nice, but like in this day and age where we're utilizing engines, you're not exactly building your own engine. You're not exactly interfacing with the computer at that level. And you shouldn't as a developer, because people don't like that. People get really scary and sketchy about, you know, kernel level implementation. So don't do that. But there's some vagaries that overlap between, because like they're like, okay, we need like some of the software development side overlap with some of the game development side, and some of it doesn't quite mesh completely. You can see some applications, but there was a couple of things that I in my experience here that didn't quite overlap. And also, to kind of like be a little hypocritical, going back to it forces you to make games. I also felt like it didn't push you to make enough games, at least in the time when I was in it. So more game making, more specializing into making games and really drilling into that. Oh my gosh. I think at that time it was also, I don't know how it is now, but like, you know, things like this that are happening with Andrew and stuff is awesome, but like didn't really push for more of those kinds of opportunities. Like I founded the club here back in the day. If the Game Developers Club is still here, it's my baby. I made it. It's my legacy. I'm an ancient and old man. You're reading my books. Those are my tomes. But yeah, really like pushing to like get more involvement with the industry, because yeah, like right now the current thread is the GGDA, but like maybe they're working through the college to kind of interface more with these studios and having more people come out and talk and expose you guys to more of the industry, like what we're doing now, just more.
What did college miss, or maybe you see now that you would want to have back then? What did you learn when you got in there that you didn't get here?
Yeah, so I would say might just be a critique on education in general, but a lot of the time we were set to follow, exact instructions, use exact tools, like, I don't know how it is nowadays, but Unity for my era, and, like every class had the same, like, rigid, this is how you do this. And then I had my first internship my junior year, and they're like, we only use command line and SVN for version control. I'm like, what's version control? So that was already an issue. And so, like, learning that, he's like, oh my god, like, I'm like, I open 2 terminals at the same time? Maybe I was just behind, but he's like, we have a lot to learn. But luckily I did learn in that internship. I just think that there's a lot of like tools that I wish that they would have, like, not how to use one tool, but how to use any tool. For example, at Call of Duty, we didn't use Unity. We used a proprietary engine that was built with sticks and glue like 20 years ago and breaks every time you look at it. So, like, being able to adapt to new technologies versus being proficient in one and being like, this was my engine for college, was something I think that I would have preferred.
Make games while you're here, please. The most important thing, as not just a game devs, anyone who's in here interested in making games, do it here while you're in a safe place. For most of us, college is a time where we can dedicate our time to school, to education, not as much home life, not as much work. I'm talking for most people, right? Use this time to fail. Try pixel art, try 3D modeling, try art, try Unity, try Unreal. Make things outside of your classes. And for God's sakes, if you have to use AI, use it to teach you instead of code for you. The other day I Googled, what is wave function collapse? And it taught me in about 15 minutes, and that's better than watching 2 hours of YouTube videos where someone goes,
hey, welcome back to my Blender tutorial. Today we're going to go teach you about it.
Make games while you're here, because there's no reason that you shouldn't be making money while you're in college. We're familiar relatively with Pirate Software guy. I won't talk about him recently, but a true fact about him is that he and his friends made a game, I think in like 3 or 4 weeks. They made a space shooter game where you shot food, something like that. Put it up on Steam, $200. You can make $200. Get some people together, make something. Take a game jam game, finish it, and put it on Steam. When I was here at school, the classes did not super emphasize that. As Brandon was saying, the classes said, make a game with 3 levels, and it has to have shooting mechanics, and it has to have, great, cool, for a graded project. They didn't tell us to push and make games, so I'm telling you that now. You're in a safe place. Experiment. Maybe you really like making music, you just haven't tried it yet. So, we're doing great on time. I'm going to go off script and interject a new quick question. If you were to teach a class here, or to teach a workshop, what would you teach? I can go ahead and get started. I would teach something about game business. So if there's anyone who is interested in starting an indie company and getting financing for it and team management and financial planning, come grab me on LinkedIn. I'll be here for a few minutes after this. I will be happy to have meetings and talk to you about this stuff. Game management is something that the game dev curriculum did not touch on in the slightest when I was here. And there is so much to learn about scheduling, how to work with a team, how do you assign features, how long do features take, how much money do you ask on Kickstarter, how do you work with friends? It's different. It's very different. That's what I would teach a little workshop about. I could talk about it for hours, and I probably will until I give this microphone away. Who's ready for their answer next? You got it?
Okay. Yeah, I thought of it. So I don't know if anybody remembers a lot of complaints in high school about, oh, why am I learning physics, whatever it is? I want to be learning how to do my taxes. And while as game developers, if you're doing engine programming, you do use physics. That is kind of true, where a lot of practical skills are not taught. And one I would say here is putting yourself out there, portfolio building, etc. I remember when I graduated, a lot of my colleagues, like, some of them just might have not known, but they didn't have anything ready on their portfolio. They hadn't gone out to, like, meet other people, and they're like, why am I not getting jobs? I'm like, well, there's some people who have the best portfolio ever, and they're still not getting jobs. So when I was a junior, like I said, I went out to, like, San Francisco and asked everybody for an internship. I don't know if I said that, but and I finally got one. So, like, I would say being relentless and building your career being, I don't know if that's actually a class, but being relentless to the class. Okay. Yeah, career building, I guess.
Relentless on what?
Relentless on putting yourself out there and getting things done, because if you don't, you're never going to get in it. Whether you're starting an indie studio or whether you're trying to get this position that's well sought after, or whether you're just trying to get, money to live your life, you're never going to get there unless you put yourself out there, start building your portfolio, take chances, learn about what's around you, just becoming part of the game community, I would say.
Yep.
I don't know if that's a class, but.
No, I agree. That could be a great workshop.
Game production. The art of getting the game done. The hardest part of any creative endeavor is finishing it. Also telling yourself to stop. Like that is a craft that you need to learn and understand. And it's very much tax on what you were mentioning of like how to work with other people on getting something done, how to properly break down your idea into actionable things, into workable components, and assembling it into a whole complete game, going through that whole iterative process. Because when I was here, I also minored in computer science or in software engineering with that emphasis on software project management. So that was the main crux of what drove me through the industry as a producer, is because I learned how to work with people and utilize their best strengths, and also drive them into identifying the work that needs to be done, structuring it in a way that it can get done, and really pushing people to get it done. Because that's really the hardest part, is getting people to actually not get overwhelmed with the ideas that they have or the creative efforts that they have, because all of you will experience some form of analysis paralysis or executive dysfunction, because you have this awesome idea that you have, but you don't know how to tackle it. Training you guys on how to do that, how to tackle it, break it down, and also recognize what your talents and strengths are and what the talents and strengths are that you need for the project, and find those people and utilize them because they have something that you need that you don't have, and leveraging that and putting it to work and getting stuff done. Game production, that's what I would push for.
It's an entirely different monster, just because we have time. It's an entirely different monster to work with friends and classmates than it is to work with coworkers just to show up at a job. Similarly, you might have had experience where your best friends might not make the best roommates. It's a very similar sort of deal. There is an art to being, for lack of a better word, the manager of the team. I like to say that there is 5 roles in game design. Let's see if I can do them. Audio, design, art, programmer, and manager. Which one is the most important? Just shout. None of them.
Failed.
A game needs these 5 things to be made. And some of you can be mixes of things, compartists or divinagers. Some of you can be all 5. I think that is a compartilozinager, if I have that correct. But it's identifying who has those kinds of qualities. I started SkillOps with 2 other friends. There's 3 of us founders. And I said, guys, let me take care of all the business crap. I'll take care of the finances. I'll take care of the bank and the LLC and all that other stuff. You guys do what you do best, tech art and programming. And so between us, we share those 5 roles. And in a sense, it's worked flawlessly after the first year of me making all these different mistakes. Do you have anything that you would add on to networking just because we have time?
No, but I will say I miss the tutorials where it's Evanescence and they're just on Notepad and they're just I'd rather have that than AI, but yeah. No, I don't have anything else to add.
Let's keep the word count of AI under 300 tonight, including Q&A, if we can do that. All right, great.
Quick question, if you can repeat the question. When you were here, what qualities did you look for in people to make games with you? And now, what qualities would you look for?
Ooh, the question was, when we were students here, what qualities did we look for to find team members to make games with? And what qualities do we look for now in people to make games with?
You should not look for any specific qualities, because you can find the most brilliant ideas or, interesting coding things, whatever, in somebody who's never done coding before. Game jams will teach you that. I would say even now, back then, never judge any books by their cover. Don't look at the whiz coder and be that's the person I need to work with or the best artist. I feel like everybody always has something to offer and share, like not trying to be like all happy-go-lucky. Like they do.
Everyone does have very unique experiences. I turned down someone during hiring because their ego was too high. And I could tell within minutes after they started chatting. I don't believe the software industry is any space for ego. In fact, part of our company values that you have to agree to and sign an oath in blood is that you kill your ego when you come work with SkillOps. Because everyone does have a unique experience to contribute, even whether it just be, do you do new line brackets or inline brackets? And then let's talk about that. People that push egos aren't good for any team. I don't think I need to go on too much longer about that. We've all had that kind of experience. When I was at a game jam, I think my second game jam, I learned this lesson because one of our team members came in with a slideshow ready that he had made the previous Thursday on what game we were going to make that weekend. Didn't know the theme, didn't know anything like that, and it did not go super well. Relations were a little strained after that. Would not recommend it. At the time, I was looking in school, when I was looking for teammates, I would look for the ones who spoke the most in class, who would do more than what was on the rubric. There is no excuse for your games here at school to be a bunch of capsules and cubes when opengameart.org exists. So I would look for opengameart.org. I mean, the Unreal Asset Store, right? Or Kenny Assets. Download free stuff. It's everywhere. So I would look for the people while here in school who would do that, who would make their games look pretty, a little above and beyond. Now, in the career world, I look for people who introduced me with their portfolios. I don't really care about what college you graduated from. Our primary Blender artist didn't even go to college. He started Blender when he was 16, and he's really damn good at it. That's what I look for now. What do you bring to... Can you come in and start coding on day 1 or day 9 instead of having to go through a lengthy training process?
So he touched on it a little bit. What my answer is, it's the drive, like the passion and motivation, and not only that, but actually executing on that motivation. You know, it's the people that make the thing. Like there's going to be somebody in the classroom, like he mentioned, does the higher execution on the thing that he wanted to create. You know, or they're working on something on the side and they're showing it off to a buddy next to you at their desk. Like those are the people you want to like interface and engage with, because they're in it to make games, and that's super valuable. And you also having that mentality and executing on it and leveraging the people around you in terms of like, hey, give me feedback, check out this thing I made. Like, because you guys are in like a creative educational crucible, and you're all ingredients, and collaborating together is just the pestle that's grinding you into dust, into one cohesive. I don't know. This metaphor is falling apart. I'm following. Yeah, you're following it. Either way, you're all here to make stuff, and this is the perfect opportunity because you guys came out of the grindhouse of high school and just like being in your social circles and going through syllabi and getting spat out and like, welcome to college. This is your opportunity to socialize, slam your ideas together, and come out as better, more informed, well-rounded people with a higher skill set, ideally, in something you really care about. And the qualities I look for is those kinds of people who are like really just grinding it out, making the games because they have fun doing it, and they put their whole heart into it, and you can see it. You know, you can see it when they present it in class. When I'm hiring people, I see it in their portfolios. Their interest is high, their engagement is high. That's what I care about.
The new question is, when we look at portfolios, what do we look for? How do you tell a good one from a bad one? I want to see your best. I do not want to see a list of every little thing you poked at in college. I don't want to see, I did the UI for this class project. I want to see your best at the top. It's okay to have a little list of everything. It's fine. But if I'm writing a resume right now today, I probably wouldn't put my experience as a game master for an escape room because that's not super relevant. I want to see the product you showed at SiegeCon. I want to see what you brought to DreamHack. We will do a Q&A after this. No, you're totally fine. I want to see the favorite thing that you did in college. I want to see what you did outside of class. Everyone can make a website. It's super easy, and there's so many free things now. If you don't have a portfolio website yet, make one, and now you can get some practice organizing it and formatting and stuff. I want to see the top. ArtStation.
I did a portfolio review as part of Siege, like 2018 or so, and he was the lead developer at Tripwire, I think, Curtis or something, but probably, yeah. He gave me some great advice where he said, "Oh, I love this music." So on the flip side of that, yes, when it comes to your game development stuff, have the best of the best. But also these people, especially like now with AI, sorry, I mentioned the secret word, but like they're using like they're seeing so many resumes, or they're not even seeing the resumes, and a lot of times when they do see one, something interesting about you. So mine was like, I play guitar and music is like, oh, that's interesting, because now we have like a talking point in an interview, whereas maybe 3 people out of the 400 developers also had it, like they made Elder Scrolls 6 in their free time, but you have something I can talk about, and that might just lead you to your next job, is having some kind of connection. It's about who you know and these little weird off-topic conversations. So include a little bit of personality in your portfolio, not necessarily like the whole thing, but just add some little tidbits about you to make yourself stand out.
You were ready for that one.
I was ready to go. You didn't see it the last time. Yeah, in portfolios, he touched on it. Context, talk about it. Like I've seen portfolios where it's just a dog pile of things that they have, and that doesn't necessarily define, hey, what exactly did you do specifically on this thing that you're showing me on your portfolio? Oh, here's a list of games. Okay, well, tell me, what did you do on this particular game? Like, embellish. Give context to the things on your portfolio. It's like, hey, this game that we put out, it's this X, Y, and Z. I worked on with a team of 5 people. My role was this. These were the key things that I focused on. Here's all the examples. Here's a screenshot. Here's some conveyance of what it is that I did and executed on this project, on this game, and just really like inform me what exactly you did. Because if you just show me a pile of games that you worked on and that has a lot of complexity on it, I'm gonna have like questions, and if you can answer those and giving it context, it's great, because 9 times out of 10 I don't always want to assume that you were the solo dev on a very complex like multiplayer fighting game project that you have that's got a lot of art and sound, and like, no, you didn't do this in 4 months. You did not do this by yourself. I would be worried for your health if you did. But, and like for artists, like if you're showing, because I just actually did some portfolio reviews for some applicants for our studio like 2-3 weeks ago. The things that I look for, and my artists on the team were looking for, they were looking for like range. Did it like hone into the kind of the art style that we were going for, the art direction? Did they execute on like, okay, you said you know a lot about substance. What on your portfolio can you tell us what you use substance for? What tools did you guys use? Is this what you've made, this like very complicated ZBrush asset? Is it game ready, or does it have 3 million polygons in vertices? Like, is it just not optimal? Because that's things you want to like look for and don't get trapped on. Because like, yes, show your best, but also like your best as in best practices, industry standards, things like that, things that they can actually use. You need to be capable of making, right? Otherwise, the big flashy, like high fidelity, you can see the pores on this person's face and every minute detail of their eyelashes. That's not going to run very well in an independent game that's using Unity or Godot. It's going to be a pain in the butt still, even in Unreal. So just show that like fully your craft and how you can convey that in your portfolio. And when you're applying, keep in mind like they are going to look at like how close to like our game's art style are you? do you show like a wide range? Like you can do whatever, right? You can do cartoony, you can do realistic, and everything in between. Awesome, you're a master, and we're going to talk to you. If all you do is one particular thing, then we're going to be like, okay, well, how flexible is this person really, and how adaptable? Because that's something you guys really need to keep in mind.
So it is not all wisdom and awesome that we are coming here tonight. In many ways, we are all still relatively young in our careers, and there have been absolutely rough moments. So I would love to hear about at least one of the roughest moments in your career so far. So you know that, failure is normal for everyone, and that's okay. 2 years ago, I screwed up taxes really bad. I won't go into that because privacy. Shortly after that, now I do believe in talking about money because I like being realistic and I like actually showing. We had a 1-year project for a team of 3, and we scored $200,000. It was grant money from the government. And so I got the team together, and we got started working. I didn't know that the grant wasn't coming for another 4 months. I had people to pay. I took a loan. I took a loan to pay my people until the grant came back in. And the grant came in, I paid the loan off, and there was some interest, and it wasn't quite $200,000 after that. I wish I had a longer story, but I think that's punchy enough, yeah? The moral of that story is that even if you're not interested in starting a company, you will have interesting finances to deal with when you go into a creative field like games. So make sure you are armed with the best. Whether that be maybe an accountant in your family, great. Maybe you spend a whole evening researching how to manage finances, great. Make sure that you're prepared with cash, because cash flow, as they say, your month to month, your paycheck can really make or break you. I didn't have any cash flow. It was coming in 4 months, right? It was going to be there, so I had to take that loan. Again, I love talking about this stuff, financial management, when it comes to games. Chat with me afterwards if you're interested in that stuff. Roughest moments?
When I was first out of college, I worked at a casino game company, and I lost the company $1 million. But guess what? My boss apparently had lost them $5 million. So at first, I literally was like, what do I do? I'm going to have to change my name, like whatever. But then he said, yeah, this sucks, but this happens a lot in this industry. But either way, I guess the moral of this is stuff happens. Like, don't ever think you're not adequate enough in your field. Like if it's different if you want to do something else and it's not your, like what you feel. But if you make a mistake, you're going to do it. I'm sure you've been told this before a lot. I mean, that's the only time I've lost $1 million so far. So far. But in the casino game companies, if you have a bug, that bug will show up in that whole day of everybody using the casino. That's when they'll notice it and then come back and be like, okay, this whole day people gave us this money, but we can't give them, we have to give them it all back or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, costly stuff for sure. Especially as a producer. There was a game of chicken that I played and failed with between departments for Rogue Company at one point, where it was a game of chicken between art and design, because they were brand new. They did Hi-Rez in that era was still kind of like slowly adopting production and trying to like really utilize it and formalize it as a standard thing that in terms of operating, and the lockstep between art and design, who defines what, who sets the pace for the other. And I was sitting on the design side. I was the design producer, and we right hand wasn't talking to the left on this in terms of like defining what this particular character that we were working on. Design wanted to go one way. Art was already like 4 months ahead on their visual design, and it already defined a lot of things that just wasn't meshing or jiving with the actual like state of the game. And the game of chicken was like, okay, well, we need to like put you guys like on the back burner, was kind of like the decision that I was pushing for that got put through, but that had artists kind of idling for a little too long. and that can be pretty pricey because the art team was the larger component you'll find that in most studios, that when you're making a lot of assets and the like for your game, as opposed to going to the marketplace or outsourcing, you tend to need to hire a lot of artists, and that particular character had a lot of things tied to them, and so their work was set for that guy, but we had to like bench it until design caught up, and that kind of like put things on our like character pipeline, because we had other characters lined up behind it that kind of like really stalled things out and kind of put us a little behind on schedule, which can be very costly when you have a team of 120 people. That adds up pretty expensively. You should know.
Oh God, yes. Yeah, when they say time is money, that expression is really about payroll. If you've ever wondered why a game costs $600 million to make, or this Kickstarter's for $2 million, most of that money's payroll. You know, if you're making $18 an hour and you have 40 people on your team, one day of lost product, that's where that comes from. Let's chat a little bit about, this is our last one before the Q&A, unless there's more questions from chat, but this is our last one. Let's flip it around. Our most rewarding career moments. Guys, off the top, you want me to start?
Back it back up. The most rewarding was getting Rogue Company launched at high res, because I got in like at the near ground floor, because shortly, like months before, like 6 months before, it was just a little prototype idea that like a cohort in Ares were kind of banging out in like one of the incubator rooms, and then they started growing up the team a bit more, and were in pre-production, and I got looped in to kind of serve as like senior QA, but also like an associate producer for the environment art team. So I was there from roughly the beginning and got it to full release and out there, and having players play it and seeing feedback and seeing people like get excited for it on the socials and streams and the like. It was very rewarding. It felt great to finally like have something like, well, I mean, it's a live service game, so you're never technically done, but done to put out to people and have them enjoy it was the most rewarding thing for me.
It's just a brilliant feeling. I don't think there's any other industry that gives you the same feeling as watching someone play your game and have fun after it's done. It's just brilliant. We finished the first version of our first VR training software, dropped it off to the client. I checked back in a week later. I showed up a little early, and I peeked in, and the instructor was actively teaching with the VR in the classroom. I saw it through the windows. 4 of these grown adults learning ammonia refrigeration were waving these handles around, smiles on their faces. It was just brilliant to watch, to think that, you know, we had spent the last year making this, and now someone has learned and is smiling from it. This is why I say make and finish games while you're here in school, while you have this safety net. Everyone needs to experience that kind of euphoria. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I didn't realize you actually worked on Rogue Company, because I remember before I graduated, they did a play test before it was out, and I remember being like, "Oh, this is so good!" And the people, maybe you were there, but the developers were looking over our shoulders like, "Oh, they're liking it, whatever." But yeah, mine is kind of similar. So for short context, the game I worked on, Modern Warfare 3, had a zombies mode, and there were human AI in it. That's what Sledgehammer was tasked with adding, and we had to come up with these bosses. And I, as a technical designer, got to design one of them, and I remember being like, there should be these little sound things that like make you slower, and then like they're like, yeah, let's do that. So somebody else implemented it because it was their task. But then months later, the game comes out, and I'm playing it. I'm like, God, these are so annoying. Whose idea was this? And then I was like, oh wait, it was mine. But it wasn't like that annoying, but it was fun. It was like, oh wow, something I've done has actually made an impact in a game that me and my friends are now playing. And there were plenty of people who were like, oh, I hate this, but you know, seeing it like something that you've done come to fruition, whether it be like in training on a computer game or in person in play tests, that's what games are about. Like, you know, interaction, human emotion. I'm getting to what do you call it?
No, it's true.
Theoretical. Or
It's super true. Yeah. That was the last on my phone before Q&A. Andrew, is there anything else that you want to? All right, great, cool. So we're going to start Q&A. Let's try and keep things pretty short and consistent. Let's avoid things like what is your favorite game, because we can talk about that afterwards. All right, Q&A. I believe you were waiting up front here. Yeah, what's up?
Step on up and just ask in here real quick so chat can hear it. So what's the best programming language out there, for making games?
Assembly.
You will get different answers depending on who you are. The question was, what's the best programming language to make? What's the best engine? What's the best tool? My team in school here at KSU studied Unity and C#. We were not going to learn an entirely new language and engine when we started a company because we had a game to make. So we use Unity and C# because that's what we're good at. I think that's the answer to what is the best. It's what you trained on, it's what you're good at, it's what you know how to do, and it's what fits the case for your games. We have relatively lower poly type stuff, lower graphics. Client comes to me and they say, we want HQ AAA VR, switch to Unreal. Tool for the job and what you're good at.
Can I add like a quick ever since Blueprints came out and now Unity has scripting, you come to realize, like, I know like the diehard computer science fans will disagree, but coding is just logic. It's all the same. Like it all comes down to if this then this, and there's just fancy ways to like type it out, honestly, in my opinion.
So, I love dying on hills. Or at least just picking a hill to fight for. But, I mean, yeah, it fit whatever the context of your situation. But the also question is, like, what level of control do I want to have in terms of the implementation and the project that I'm working on? Typically, like, industry standard, that'd be C++ is kind of like the standard. They're like, people are griping about Rust right now. Just, yeah. No.
Oh.
The language.
Oh, I don't know. Wow.
Yeah. That's kind of getting a bit of an uptick in terms of like what should be like the programming language, because right now it's C++, and then now it's Rust is coming up, but you have the higher level languages like C#, and then you have the scripting level stuff like Godot has Godot script, and then Unity's got its own scripting language. Yeah. Yeah. Call of Duty script for their weird Call of Duty engine. But yeah, when you get into a studio, you're going to find that like it's going to be whatever proprietary thing that they're going to utilize. If it's Unreal, it's going to be blueprinting in C++. If it's Unity, it's going to be their scripting language, and then also, I guess, C++, C#. Yeah. Do they mostly use C#?
It's mostly C#. You can also do Java.
Yeah. Yeah. Who does that? Gross. Again, I pick hills.
Next question. I see you in the back. What's up? If you want to run up and chat to hear it. I know it's awkward, but this is how streaming goes sometimes.
We got one mic.
Great shirt.
Thank you. Had to represent. Rod's mains are best. What I wanted to ask was, if you're looking for like internships or an entry level job, would you guys recommend, what do you think is better, like a smaller local company or a larger national company? So basically between like a indie studio just collecting like any like interns, entry level people around here, or something like an EA.
My internship at college was working in game development at Georgia Power. So they were doing research on VR. That's where I got the idea. Yeah. So it was an internal research team, and I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. I made $22 an hour. I got fat as hell because I was ordering DoorDash every single day. It was amazing. And I got to study games in this giant professional, serious gaming environment. See if you can hunt for game dev skills maybe a little beyond the norm. At least look at that.
And I worked at the same place as him, and I had the opposite reaction. So that's why I would say I wouldn't look for one or the other. I would look for anything you can get, and then once you've done that, find the other. Because my first internship was a small company, and I loved it. I happened to work at a big company, and I liked it. But I think now that I've worked at both, I still, like, if I had to choose and I got, like, my dream, like, pay, location, whatever, it would be a startup. So I would say try both. At some point, you've got lots of like internships and after college jobs to try every single kind of like niche for sizes.
Yeah, I agree. Shoot your shot anywhere. Though, like, expectations wise, like, difficulty is going to vary based on size of the company. Obviously, the bigger AAA ones are going to expect bigger and AAA qualities from you when you're asking for that internship. Local studios takes a little bit of networking elbow grease, and that opportunity is very likely for you. Granted, you're probably going to learn something that is more bespoke to that little indie startup as opposed to some industry standard practices that you would at the bigger AAA studio. When I was in college here, I threw myself at any old contract that I could get my hand on. I was doing contract work as a gameplay programmer for a casino gambling company here in Georgia, driving all the way to Swanee. World Touch. This was way back then, so I don't know. There's not important, but yeah. And then after that, it was like when social gaming was coming up on Facebook. This is really, I'm dating myself here. We had internship opportunities come here because the program, the Preston and them brought in like these social gaming guys who were like, no, it was songs. It was called Songster. Yeah, on Facebook. Yeah. It was they needed testers and the like. So those opportunities came along. But yeah, shoot your shot anywhere. But again, it's keep a realistic mindset on the expectations of what they're asking for, right? You want to bring your best, of course, to all of them, but like one's going to be harder than the other for sure.
One more thing. Yeah.
Also, keep in mind it will differ from company to company, because I always thought AAA companies would be like grinding you to a halt or whatever, whereas indie studios would be like really chill and everything. But from my experience, I was up at like 11 p.m. talking to the office in India to get them my stuff at the indie studio, whereas the AAA one, they're like, okay, you're good, go home. But then some of them will, work you 80 hours, so it depends.
I know I saw our gentleman in the green shirt and glasses. Yeah, well, up here.
Hello there, you guys. My name's Tinley Hampton. My question is definitely, I think, a little bit more targeted towards you two. I have a plan to start an indie game with a few close friends of mine who I know for a fact I can trust. My question is, I've been looking into grants to start the project, but most of the grants that I'm finding are through the city of Atlanta and typically max out at around $2,000 to $5,000. Where do you guys, what's a good place to go, or where are you guys going to try and find and secure these grants?
The relatively unfortunate answer is that if you want a grant any larger than your zone that you were looking at, $4,000 to $5,000, you need assistance from a type of career person called a grant writer. KSU can help find you a grant writer. Ask professors, ask teachers, go down the line, you will find one, maybe even look it up. A grant writer knows how to go through grants.gov and find things that are relevant to you. Go yourself to grants.gov, skim through what's there. It's a mess of a website, but you'll be able to see it.
As with any government. While I can't speak more to the grant side of things, there are only like a number of avenues in which you can pursue as an independent studio to get your game made, whether it be through financial means or not, or bootstrapping, as it were. Like he mentioned, he got his grant, but didn't come through, so he had to pull out of pocket. Never again. But obviously, like your avenues are, you can just moonlight it, and you work your day job, and then you moonlight it working on with your team. As long as you are consistent and you really put your time in, you'll eventually get something put out and you'll start making revenue, and you can turn that revenue around into your next game, right? Sometimes you would probably tune and adjust the scope. Maybe it's like, we're going to make multiple games. We're going to keep the scope light, and we're just going to shotgun it out and, make a couple of thousand here, a couple of thousand there. Just rapid fire games so that you can build up to have the funding to build the big, complex, higher scope game that you want to make, right? You can grow into that way. There are, what's the term? Codev studios. You put yourself out there and be like, hey, we provide a particular service. other studio. You could outsource to us. We're a bunch of programmers. We're really good at our craft. If you guys seem to be light on programming, kick us some money and we'll help make your game. That's what co-dev typically means. Is mostly it's art houses, but there's also like much larger ones that have like a whole suite of designers, programmers, artists, and everything. I think Keyword Studios is one of those, for example. Very large co-dev. Like Gearbox has utilized a couple of co-dev studios to get many of their Borderlands games made. So there's that avenue. There's going more into the serious and getting government grants and contracts, working with the government on like military stuff, VR, medical stuff. I know a couple of people who who work for doing like medical educational stuff or simulation stuff. And then there's also the other traditional methods of crowdsourcing, like through a Kickstarter or a Patreon. But that requires a lot of you exercising like community management and social media, and actually having something. You have to make something in order to put something forward and get money back out of that first to really show off, because you have to sell people on it and ask for their money before they get the product. That's always a tough thing to do. But other times, if you're really good at selling it, you get a lot of money. And you just come out on top pretty well. I think there's been several like Kickstarter success stories, but you have to be very thorough on that. Do your research on like what sells and what markets. And I think like there's early access on Steam that you can do. That's the things that come to mind right now. I think I covered a bulk of it. Otherwise, I'll keep rambling.
And 2 years ago, we did a presentation here. Sorry, I'm going off camera. We did a presentation here that you can find on the Georgia Game Devs YouTube channel, which involved Chris Cornelison, the Interim Associate Vice President for Innovation and Commercialization. So understand that you have that department here at KSU that is actively looking to work for students. Video is called Starting a Game Studio. And we had the program manager for the Robin and Doug Shore Entrepreneurship and Innovation Center here at KSU. Well, here, then you can tell them about that part. So remember, you have these resources at KSU, and other schools have similar.
Chat with me afterwards if you have a great idea and want to start something. The Robin and Doug Shore Entrepreneurship Department here at KSU, they will teach you business. They will take you under their wing. The two professors, Greg Quinnett and Dennis Loubier, they're rad. There is a fund here called the Mukherjee Fund. You can get cash for your good business idea. They'll teach you how to pitch. Chat with me afterwards if you're interested in talking about this stuff. Grab me on LinkedIn after this if you're interested in financing your game. I can help you with that stuff. One more. In the back. Come on up. Thanks for raising high. I'm glad we saw you.
Hi. So I'm an animation major, and I'm not super familiar with the games pipeline. You mentioned that there was an art department and a design department, and I was wondering what the difference between what those two do is.
So design in the sense of, so let's break it down. Art in a professional, why did I say that? In a game studio at large, when the game gets large enough and complex enough, you start needing to break down and specialize. In indie studios, you have to wear multiple hats. So like your artist is likely the person who's going to do your modeling, animation, rigging, all that jazz. Designers will also do a little bit of that as well if the team's small enough. When your team gets much larger and you have the flexibility to specialize more, again, like with art teams typically get broken down to not just for modeling, but you also have character modeling, you have hard surface, you have environmental art, people that specialize in making entities or or in-world assets like this tripod thing. I failed a name on it. This mic stand. Somebody would be the environment artist to make the prop or this room itself, doing all the material works and the topography to execute on it. You would have VFX artists whose entire job is to make things look sparkly and shiny. You have lighting guys that do lighting. In design, that's typically broken down into. You have game designers who focus more on the games and systems designers that deal with mechanics and the interactions therein. You have level designers who focus more on the level flow and the navigation of a space or the utilization of a space in gameplay. You have technical designers who,
depending on the studio, they're either technical or design. I did a talk on it. You can check out on the YouTube channel from last month, but it could be anything from mostly programming and a little bit of design or vice versa.
you have UI designers who are guys who just design the UI. There's UX designers who care about the user experience and flowing through things. It gets really, really specialized the more complex and the more people you have, because much of game dev is hard, right? Trying to make the game, and a lot of it is how well can you execute on it. And sometimes that question is well, what kind of person or what kind of role do we need to like obsess about a very specific thing to execute it so well so that everything else does great for it and the game comes out awesomely. So like, yeah, we would hire a technical designer to focus more on the technical design stuff, because our game designer is too busy doing other things and he can't really put his brain power to that. That's usually how it kind of breaks down. And you don't want to ever like simplify and be like, design is just the ideas guy. It's like, no, there's actually a lot of complexity in what it is that the questions that they're trying to ask, and like how the game is how the game is designed. Documentation. Oh my gosh, documentation. I could have a whole class on documentation and the importance therein, because like some people are like, ugh, documentation, and like, no, it's the most cost-effective thing you could ever do. Yeah, spreadsheets, like designers can be summed up in spreadsheets, actually.
So where can people follow you, find more, etc.?
Go on to LinkedIn, type in SkillOps. SkillOps VR. We are the only one. We're orange. If you find SkillOps VR, we're orange on LinkedIn. We're the only ones. If you message that page, I run it. That's me. You can find me there. Chat with me after here. We can get on LinkedIn. I would genuinely love to network with all of you.
Yeah, and I'm on LinkedIn, Brandon Moss.
Yeah, Brandon!
And MySpace. Yeah, Brandon! I still have that? Okay. Yeah, surprise, surprise, I'm also on LinkedIn. It's kind of an industry standard thing on how we network. It's awful. But you can find me on LinkedIn, Jared Sanchez, the Jared, like the jewelry store. Can't forget that. Not the Subway guy. We don't talk about him. But also my company, Cubby Games. You can look us up there. Again, fledgling studio. We're just now getting things going. Yeah, you found it. Congratulations.
Does it look like books?
Yeah, it's a Cubby.
Cubby Games.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, our CEO is like inspired of like, yeah, you put, it's like like for like little kids, so like the grade school, you put all your games and stuff in the Cubby.
You're all mandated to like work.
Oh man, I've had that experience of just like in a one-room studio. Brutal. So many stories on that one, but we'll save that for another time.
All right. Thank you to our speaker. All right, hang out for our Siege meeting, hang out to talk to our presenters. You all can't, but you all can join us. Georgia Games Week, October 29th, will be at the Esports Summit with the Siege panels. And then, of course, October 31st and November 2nd at the Georgia World Congress Center, DreamHack Atlanta, and the Siege Indie Playground. See you there.